welcome to today's video. Here's tropical depression Kilo. Hasn't really strengthened too much, and I'm seeing. With that said, however, we are Hurricane Hunter aircrafts have actually confirmed this is probably barely holding on to tropical cyclone status. Despite this on satellite presentation, we are seeing some improvements in organization, and I'm assuming it just really needs to mix down to the surface at this point. I mean, I think mid-level sure it's possible, maybe be reducing some surface mixing, but we haven't had, we don't have not a lot of research has been done on mid-level shear, so we don't know for sure. But I will say the system is starting to transition from a few days ago when the system was all the way out, right around here. This is around 145W. This system was more like a bursting type. Now the system's around. Then around 150W, this became a naked swirl. Now it's kind of transitioning back to more of a partially exposed, and now more slash more more classical shear look. The shear non-exposure, because you can see the system's it's a little better organized, but it's still not that organized. The Hurricane Hunters have found a very, very broad road that probably barely qualifies as a tropical cyclone. As a well-defined center, barely qualifies. I mean, it is closed, however. Meanwhile, I'm seeing the development of some curved band. I'm seeing some curved band features, though, kind of that sheared curved band look. And I'm seeing some increase in the overall massiveness of the CDO. And convexing isn't pulsating like it's been doing the past few days. So this is some improvement. I'm definitely seeing some improved outflow from very, very low wind shear. And that should allow for once the mid-level shear declines, assuming it declines, and that's the big uncertainty, as I've noted in my videos the past several days. One of the biggest uncertainties, how fast will the mid-level shear decline? And so if and when the mid-level shear decline, the system should be fairly small, so the system should build an inner core somewhat quickly. And dry air will be a little bit less of an issue, because that sometimes can slow the rate of building an inner core. So as a result, I think once the mid-level shear finally declines, and maybe starting to decline, the CMIS wind shear analysis does show a very low region of wind shear. I think I might show you it later. CIMSS, and shows it, but it's not really that accurate just because it doesn't really forecast shear. It just shows what the shear currently is and the year it's headed into. I mean, it's gonna have most of the mid-level shear seems to be further south. It has to go north if it wants to hit the mid-level shear. And now here's a look at the model runs. The GFS runs have trended back to the east a bit, and especially there was a big ship, but there remains a lot of spread. You can see the ensemble spread is very, very high. You can see some kind of keep this weaker. And notice the numbers here. Let me notice. Look at these numbers. Notice how these tend to be lower than these. I know it's kind of really, really hard to tell. There it is. Depends on how good your vision is. But notice how these numbers, these are the pressures that will be 97. I think that's whatever that is. I think it's 990, 987. Meanwhile, these are in the thousands of millibars. That's an indication that this thing, once again proves my point that I've been making for several days now about the system gets stronger than expected. It's likely we curves closer to Hawaiian Islands. You can see the spread is increasing, even though obviously my forecast philosophy hasn't changed that much. Yeah, if you want to look at, if for some reason you didn't find the GES tracks helpful, here's a look at the Levi one. This actually shows the explicit tracks. Let's take a look at the European one that's also shifted east, and that brings us too close to comfort to Kauai, right on Nahun. The HWRF, the 12's HWRF one is also pretty close to Kauai and Nahun, and that only goes out to day 5, and that's still, I don't see any signs of a westward turn. And the GFDL brings us very, very close to Kauai as a catchway 5 hurricane. I hope that this is a little bit overdone, but the GFDL and HWF have a slightly different situation because let me show. Hold on. The GFDL actually is a little bit slower to intensify the system than the HWRF. Next, to keep this relatively weak for about another couple days while the HWRFs HWR time. Actually, this one they've changed over, but even here, this is the 42-hour GFDL run. It's about the same strength as the 30-hour. Let me point this out. It's roughly the same strength as the 30-hour HWRF one. Now you can see that the 45-hour HWRF one has this thing gain a little stronger, a little quicker. And it's still weaker than GFDL. So the GFDL may, it's an indication the GFDL may, the system will either really explode once the system starts to recurve around the periphery of the subtropical ridge, or either really recurve, it'll really recurve, or that the GFDL is overdoing this thing. Anyway, let's go back to the setups here. Here's the 12Z GFS showing, and here's the 12Z GFS showing relatively the same overall setup we've been talking about for several days now. They have a pretty strong, pretty flatter ridge that, while it's strong, likely won't act too much of a barrier to the system and may allow for the door for the system to swing wide to the east-northeast. The 0Z European, however, showed a stronger ridge and they don't have the system getting cut off from the trough like the GFS does briefly. Which is a little bit surprising that the GFS is still more west than the European. And that kind of hurts that credibility, really even hurts the credibility of the Western run even more, especially when they're rather similar intensity. That's the 0, and even the 12Z European now. That was when the models really began to shift, that one really shifted east now. That shows a stronger trough and shows a relatively flat ridge, and it has a system embedded into the trough. So it's again, as I said with the 12Z GFS, it's a little bit odd that why they don't have the system going west. Why they do have the system going west and rather to the east, rather to the east-northeast or northeast. Which I would bring it very close to the main Hawaiian Islands. Where the system goes west, the system is not really much of a threat to the Hawaiian Islands. I will note that though by day 6, there's a chance, as indicated by this European one, this ridge may strengthen, and this trough may be moving too quickly if the system is weaker than expected. This is pretty much rehashing what I noted for several days now. The CMC run obviously is also, on the other hand, is one of the few models that are, is the CMC, but is one of the few models that are shifting west. And then the reason is probably because they're showing a stronger ridge each run. They're having this trough a little bit not nearly as well defined. That favors the system. That would obviously favor westward motion. Was that the GM? Oh, that was the JMA. Right. And the CMC is the same thing, though the JMA is actually shifted a little bit northward. That's my fault. Here's a look at the vorticity. You can see, as I mentioned, the only question really with this is what's going to happen eventually in about 6 days, and is the ridge going to be able to rebuild? But if the system gets as strong as what the HWRF and GFDL are indicating, becomes a powerful catchword lead for a hurricane, which is not out of the realm of possibility. I think there's a good possibility that the trough wins out, and that the system races off to the east-northeast, and that's some GFS and European runs in the past have shown. But it's the exact same amount. Whoops. And here's a look at the UK map, which is keeping this relatively weak. One of the few models actually keeps this weak, probably unrealistically weak, probably because they moved this too fast, and despite all that, they still show the trough winning out. So that's point is, this general flop, my general thinking is unchanged. I still think this will likely pass just to the west of Oahu and Kiawe, but still any significant deviation from to the right of my thinking would bring the system directly over the main Hawaiian Islands, and as a result, I continue to insist that interest in the Hawaiian Islands need to keep a very close eye on this system over the next several days. That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it taught you guys something. Bye.